Hello everyone. Before we get started, make sure to like and subscribe, and leave a comment saying where you're from and when you watched. That way, YouTube will continue to show you stories like this. Now, let's get started. Asterisk, I sat in the middle of the living room, the afternoon light filtering through the thick curtains, creating long streaks like iron bars. The haunted doll was still there, its empty eyes staring at me as if waiting for something. After the last night of recording, the call to let us in, I knew that time was running out. If I didn't act, sooner or later this house would no longer be a place for humans. I contacted an occult researcher named Mr. Harris. He was an old British man living in seclusion in the southern woods, who had written many articles on exorcism and ancient spell-breaking rituals. When I called and briefly told him about Emily, about the whispers, about the blood and the dream, he was silent for a long time and then answered with a sentence that made me shiver. There are souls that cannot wait to be released. They want the living to replace them. Harris agreed to help me perform a ritual called Betrayal. According to him, the purpose of this ritual is not to destroy the spirit, but to force it back into the host, in this case, the doll. But to do that, I had to directly confront the entity in the dream, invite it into the body, and then force it back. This was the most dangerous way because if I failed, the spirit would take over completely. We chose a new moon night to perform the ritual. Harris came to my house at dusk, carrying an old wooden box containing black salt, a mirror covered in red cloth, a black candle, and a small silver knife. He asked me to prepare a room with no windows, as little light as possible. We chose the storage room. I sat in the middle of the room, the doll in front of me, surrounded by a circle of black salt and 5 candles. Harris began to recite the summoning in the ancient language. The room became cold even in the middle of summer. Suddenly, the central candle flickered and went out. In that split second, I heard the soft sound of footsteps behind me. When I turned around, there was no one, but the doll had changed its position. Its hands were raised as if in supplication. Harris motioned for me to close my eyes. He began to recite the words over and over again, almost hypnotically. I slowly fell into a state of confusion between consciousness and sleep. In my head, a voice rang out, no longer soft, but fierce, full of anger. "Daniel, you cannot leave us. We need you." I found myself standing in a pitch-black space, surrounded by small hands trying to grab me. Emily appeared, but this time, her eyes were completely black. Her hair was long and fell to the ground. Next to her was a faint entity, only a shape but no face. It glowed softly and made a howling sound like a storm. I screamed in my head, "Come back, come back." Emily's soul screamed angrily. Darkness came crashing down like a tsunami. I felt like I was being torn apart, but then Harris's voice rang out clearly from the real world. "Go back, get out of her body." I opened my eyes. The room shook. A cold wind blew through, even though there were no windows. The candles flared and went out at the same time. The doll fell, her eyes closed. I gasped, my whole body drenched in sweat. Harris sat beside me, his face pale, his hands shaking. He said only one sentence, "You saved your body." We wrapped the doll in black cloth, put it back in the box, and buried it deep underground behind the house. Harris told me never to dig it up again, never to mention her name at night, and especially not to let the wind into the room when I slept. I cleaned the house for 3 days. I threw away all the old toys, took down all the old pictures, and took out everything that had traces of Emily. The house gradually became quiet. No more footsteps, no more whispers. I slept straight through the night after many long nights of panic, but then, exactly 1 week later, I received a package from an unknown sender. Inside was a black and white photo of a room that looked exactly like mine. On the bed, a little girl was sitting, hugging a doll, her eyes looking straight at the camera. Below the photo was a handwritten line in red ink. "Thank you for playing with me." I couldn't open my mouth to scream anymore. All I could do was hold the photo tightly, listening to the wind starting to blow through the crack in the bedroom door. Please watch Episode 8, Laughter Behind the Door.